What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode. Oh, shit. I didn't look at what episode number it was. It's been almost a year. 13. Episode 14 of Pixel Beast. I am your host, Jake, and today we are doing a solo session, mainly because this is just off the cuff. I haven't done this in about an hour, almost a year. Just had a lot of stuff going on, and I didn't really feel like playing any video games today. And I'm like, man, I just want to talk. And so I don't have anything planned. I don't have any any guests. It's just me. I've been listening to a lot of Bill Burr's Monday morning podcast, and I'm like, well, shit. If he can make a podcast for however long he's been doing it and basically just talk to himself the entire time, why can't I? I'm not near as creatively vocal as he is, but hey, a lot can happen. But I promised I will not copy any of his man tricks. That's the last one, I promise. It's not like anyone's going to listen to this anyway, so who really cares? But yeah, I've took a very long break. I started a new job back in 2019 in a completely new field, and it's been tough learning. It's not necessarily a tough job, but it's something that I've literally never done before. So it was I've relearning how to ride a bike or something. So I was focusing a lot on that, and I was just getting, I was getting stressed I was starting a podcast and trying to keep it weekly, and that never happened. We'll see if I can keep it weekly again after this, but just a lot of just focusing on my personal life and focusing on the job. Just decided, I need to take a break from this, because realistically, I don't know how many people are actually going to listen to this. This is just a fun little hobby for me to vent and do my own thing. So, but I've been getting back at it. I've been making some videos. I made a little Halo skit with a couple of my buddies, Dr. Booster, Alex, that is a regular on the show, and his brother Matt. We made a pretty funny video. I think it's funny. I mean, it's people on Reddit didn't take it very well. I think titling the video a Halo COVID-19 was probably an immediate downvote for a lot of people on the subreddit. And I think maybe 60 people watched it on my YouTube channel. But at the same time, I had a fun time doing it. I get a laugh every time I watch it. So, it's like George Lucas making Star Wars. He didn't really care if anyone watched it. He just wanted to make something that he wanted to watch. And he knew that, if he made that there would be other people that would make, and if it was successful, that other people would make it. And then he'd have stuff to watch in that genre. It was kind of my thing. I've always thought about that with any creative project that I've done. It's something that I wanted to do, something I wanted to watch. So I did it, and I was really proud of it. I still am very proud of it. Now, today I was messing with it again. I had recorded some Destiny 2 gameplay of the Red War campaign before they took it, before they, Disney vaulted it, I guess is how they're doing that. I don't know. It's completely weird to me, but whatever. I don't run Bungie. But I ran through that campaign. I actually, it's kind of funny. I had to finagle it a little bit because I was using my main hunter at the time to do it. And for some reason it wouldn't, because there's no real way until this new terminal system that I haven't played Destiny in a year, but they had vaulted everything and added a terminal to the main tower where I guess eventually you'll be able to go back and play all the campaigns. But, at the time they didn't. So I don't know if it's in there or not now. But there was no way to go back to some of the earlier campaigns. So what I did was actually deleted my warlock, because I hardly ever played the warlock anyway, and made a brand new hunter and dressed him up the same way as my main. So like the first 3 or 4 episodes is my low level new character that I made look like my old character, just for you know, consistency sake, because with some of the cutscenes you have your helmet off and it shows your armor and stuff, and I wanted some sort of consistency throughout the episode, so that's why I did that. And then probably the 4th or 5th episode, I think, is when it's back to my main character, and you can kind of tell when, because I go from using uh you know, regular weapons to using the sunshot and a bunch of and ace of spades once I unlock that too. But yeah, so but that was an interesting long play that I did too, where I just wanted to do like a slower thematic, I guess, the theatrical style, slower gameplay, no commentary. So it's almost like taking in the Red War campaign as if it was a movie or some sort of long series. I figured that would be a good way to log it, in case, whenever they do inevitably release it back to to that terminal at the tower, who knows how much different it'll be. And I figured this would be a good way to catalog what the experience was before everything changed, before they brought back the Cosmodrome and brought back the Destiny 1 intro, essentially, um, just to show what Destiny 2 was before all that changed. Because me personally, I loved the beginning of Destiny 2, and the Red War campaign um, is still honestly my favorite campaign that has been released. A lot of people disagree with that. Ever since Forsaken came out. But yeah, and I love Forsaken too. It's my second favorite campaign easily. It's a fantastic campaign, fantastic story. But there's just something about the Red War campaign. The story was, I don't know, it was very epic to me, and it it captured a lot of what I thought Destiny 2 was. A lot of the spirit. Um, and then just the story was well written. The cutscenes were fantastic. The main antagonist, the big guy with the big giant armor. He was mean and menacing, and deep gravelly voice. I can't remember his name for the life of me. Yeah, this is what happens when you start talking off the cuff and you don't prepare anything because you don't remember the names of shit. So, but man, I can't remember what his name was. Anyway, I figured, it was my favorite story. I wanted to catalog it in a way, again, for me, it was something that I wanted to do because I knew it was something that I would go back and watch eventually. Um, but yeah, I did that, and I did that a long time ago, probably a couple months before they vaulted everything, and I just had it sitting. I had the videos edited and ready to produce and everything, and I just never did it. And here the past couple weeks, I'm like, man, I'm getting that creative bug again, and I need to do shit. So, I finished editing that Halo COVID-19 skit. I I finally uploaded the first episode of the Red War Legacy campaign onto my YouTube channel, and now I'm doing this. And I'm 9 minutes in, and I'm genuinely surprised that I still have something to talk about. But yeah, that's where I've been, and I'm hoping, if there is anyone still listening, or if there ever was anyone listening, I want to get back into doing this, either weekly, semi-weekly. Maybe I'll do something different where I'll do some of these solo sessions every other week, and then in between those, I'll do like a group session with Alex again. Just so I'm not, because he's got his own YouTube channel, and he's doing streams and stuff for that. And, I don't want to take from that, but, on the other side of it too, he's one of my favorite people to talk to about video games. It's because we have a lot of similarities and stuff that we like, but we also, we do have quite a bit of differences too. But it's fun to debate him with it because it's always in good fun, and it always comes from a good spot. So I feel comfortable giving it giving someone like that my video game opinions, because some of them are pretty crazy, like our episode about ranking the Halo campaigns, which, my God, I feel like I got drugged through the battlefield on that one after we recorded it, because I had Halo 4's campaign so high on my list. But it's it's stuff like that where I enjoy having those conversations with someone like him, because we can have those differences but still have a real solid, fun conversation about it and not be at each other's throats at the end of it, which I feel like with some people it's really hard to do. Some people are so passionate about their side, or they're so passionate about their purchase that it almost feels like they have to justify their shit in order, to make them feel good about what they like or what they bought. So it's like you have to, because their opinion is different from yours isn't good enough because it's not what they like. And that drives me up a freaking wall. And, with someone like that, someone like Alex, it's not like that. So hopefully I can get back into the role of this, and I'll do some of these solo sessions, every other week. I'll get him on, the weeks, every other week after that. So hopefully there's some sort of content every week, and it'll, kind of shake things up a bit. And then, solo sessions like this, I can just vent my frustration, or just sit here and bullshit and look at the timer. I'm like, God, I've got 12 and a half minutes. I've got to think of something else to talk about. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, perfect timing for this. The first flight test for Halo Infinite comes out on Thursday, July 28th. Depending on when this goes up, this may or may not be uploaded before. But I was selected for the first round of testing, so I'm super stoked about that. I think it's going to be primarily bot focused, which is okay. Bots is a new feature for the series, which I love that a lot of these, some of these games are incorporating bots, like Halo Infinite and Battlefield 2042 are both games that I'm like 100% stoked for. Those are probably my only two titles for this year that I'm excited for, apart from the Series X patch for Witcher 3 that comes out later this year. But yeah, they're both adding bots to their games, which is such an incredible opportunity to create longevity for their game. One of the biggest things, one of my favorite shooters that I've played was Battlefield 4. And, apart from Halo, obviously, it's weird that I talk about favorite shooters and I hardly ever mention Halo, but because Halo is so ingrained with my life, because I grew up on that game, I play that game so much every year that I don't even think about it in some of these conversations sometimes for my favorite shooters, because it's like it's a part of it. It's so much a part of my life that it's so regular to me that I don't think about it. And I know that makes no sense, but someone out there that will listen to this will understand what I'm talking about, and that's okay. I lost my train of thought there because I got really close up to the mic and turned it into an ASMR session. Shit, where was I going with that? Oh, God. Oh, yeah, longevity in games. But it's such a great thing, because one of the things that you let's see here. Yeah. So one of the main things about uh, some of these shooters is once they've hit their prime, the numbers drop off. But then you still have some hardcore players that love the game, that love the game and play it just to have fun at that point. And you lose a lot of that because all the players move on to the next thing. I mean, you've got Call of Duty that has annual releases or has had annual releases for years at this point. I mean, imagine or in and then you had like Battlefield 4 that had its run, and then they had Hardline, and you know, up until recent, Battlefield 4 was I would say, pretty dormant on consoles. I mean, PC is a whole different can of worms that I am not very I am not very versed on because I'm not much of a PC player. Uh, but in terms of consoles, you know, um, God, I lost my thought again. I really should have wrote this shit down before I started. But in terms of consoles, with those shooter games, it's really hard to, especially with these games that are starting to turn always online. And once the crowd is passed, the game dies, which sucks because some of these games are really good, and some of the games that aren't as good, I feel like could have benefited from something like bots. Like for instance, Battlefield Hardline. For me, and again, another controversial opinion, and coming out of my mouth, I really, really like Hardline quite a bit, and I think it gets a bad rap because of how because it was the game that came after Battlefield 4. And that is such a tough game to release after probably one of the best Battlefield games up until that point. You had Bad Company 1, you had Bad Company 2, which people to this day still say is one of the best Battlefield games. You had Battlefield 3 that showcased the Frostbite engine and completely, it took Battlefield to that next level where people were having legitimate conversations of it being, in competition with Call of Duty at the time. And then you have Battlefield 4 that just completely took the multiplayer to a whole new level, and it did a lot of good things, but it also did some bad things as well. But for a lot of people, Battlefield 4, including myself, is one of the best Battlefield games to come out still. Until 2042, depending on how that plays out. But so far, it looks good. But then you have then you have Hardline that comes out. Oh man, I think it came out. So I think Battlefield 4 came out. They had a year after where they had their expansion pass releases, and then I think Hardline came out like the year towards the end of the year after that. So it was probably a solid 2 years after Battlefield 4, which is not terrible. It's not a terrible timeline, but with the Battlefield Pass, or with the Battle Pass having all the expansions, you had people playing Battlefield, including me, right up until Hardline came out. So, everyone's fresh off of Battlefield 4, and then all of a sudden you get this game that is about cops and robbers. like which by itself is an awesome concept, and they did a lot of really cool things. And honestly, like I said, it's still one of my favorite games that's completely underrated, that was hindered by its release date. And I think a game like that would benefit super well with bots because it didn't get the love that it deserved. But for the people that would still play it, if they had an opportunity to still experience the full 64 player lobbies and the chaoticness of a Battlefield game, it's like, okay, clearly this didn't work with the general crowd. let's have bots. That way people that are still playing it can have the full Battlefield experience. That game would benefit from it very well. And I think, 2042 having that option now, and then Halo Infinite as well, which I was so surprised when I heard that. Because Battlefield 2042, it was a surprise. It was a welcome surprise, but I kind of expected it because of their work with Battlefront 2. The development of Battlefront 2 towards its very end still is one of the best Cinderella stories for a video game. I think their dedication to making Battlefront 2 the best version of that game it could be, and them investing in it and completely losing money on that game. I guarantee they lost so much money on the post production of that game because of how it released initially. And for them to stick with it and release all these features, and then test, and then release bots to play in these games so you still get that full experience, like, that was an amazing feature. And I kept telling myself, and I told Alex, because Alex plays Battlefield or Battlefront 2 still as well, like, we had conversations like, the next Battlefield is going to have this feature. It's got to. Like, I mean, it makes total sense to keep the lobbies full, to give players that experience. And I was so happy when they announced it for 2042, because that's such a perfect addition to, especially with Battlefield, the way that those servers always work. People leave after the match because those matches are so long, but especially with those matches that are completely one-sided, the entire opposing team that just gets their shit kicked in just leaves, and then you're stuck waiting for minutes for the lobby to refill so you can play another game. And when you have a game as old as Battlefield 4, that will take forever. So it was really a smart move on their part to do that. And then to add the Portal creative mode, or whatever that is, like, it's like they were working to make a Battlefield love letter to the community, and then just went out of their way to do something completely off the wall. It's like, oh man, DICE is, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket already, but I will say, the way that they are marketing this game, and the stuff they're promising, the stuff that's coming out from influencers, stuff like that, like, they are doing a solid job marketing this game. And it makes me want to be so hyped for this game. And it's so hard to let myself get hyped because of EA's past. But DICE's marketing for this game is, man, they're doing a fantastic job. And then on the flip side of that, you have Halo Infinite, which, Halo 5 was, I guess, depending on how you look at it, was a failure. In terms of an IP like Halo, the game was a failure. But if this game was it was named something completely different, or was not associated with Halo at all, I think it'd be a relatively successful game. Like, it just depends on how you look at the game, and I would say how long of a Halo fan you've been, because older fans like myself expect different things from Halo, and Halo 5 just didn't really deliver that. Did it have a fun multiplayer? Yes, it had a very fun multiplayer. But when I went into that game, I never once thought I was playing a Halo game. I thought I was just playing some, generic space shooter with my friends that, had fun gameplay. And that's really what it was. It's not, I know that sounds terrible, but that's really what Halo 5 was. For me, it had a very throwaway story up until the very end. But Chief getting hunted down, I I don't know. The story didn't sit well with me. And then, like, here's the thing: I don't even remember half the names of the people that were that were going after him. Halo 5 is the only campaign out of the series that I played once. I played every single other campaign multiple times, and that includes 4 because I do personally like 4's campaign quite a bit. The story in that game for me is fantastic. It hits a lot of things. You know, it feels very, you know, it's Halo, it's Chief and Cortana, you know, the entire story. And for me, it was really cool, and it kind of helped build that relationship even more because we knew what that relationship was to begin with, and in the very end, they just completely take a heart or a knife to your heart and they stab you, and then they twist it and rip it down, and then take your heart out and throw it away. Like they just, that the story for that game hits so hard, and then you have a story like Halo 5 where you miss that, you completely miss that that dynamic of Chief and Cortana, and then you have this guy that has some Spartan team that's going to hunt Master Chief. Like, you're telling me that all the years of dedicated sacrifice that he had for the UNSC, and all the stuff that he's done for them, the you know, the wars that he's won by himself for the UNSC, and now all of a sudden they're gonna send some Spartan squad after him. Like, I get if they thought that he was off the wall, or he was a deserter or whatever, you know, whatever. But the story makes no sense whatsoever when you think of the grand scheme of Master Chief's entire story arc up until that point. Makes no sense. And then you have this terrible fight scene at the very end with that guy in Chief, where I don't know, it didn't seem like a, a very well choreographed, you know, fight. I would expect Master Chief to completely whoop that guy's ass, and that guy should have got a punch in once, and he did. And like, I remember watching that fight. I was like, well, this is like two old men fighting, like two old men fighting in slow motion. You know, like, the Chief should be freaking Undertaker, and like, I don't know. It's like it was just a terrible story. It was awful. I did not like that story. I did not like that campaign one bit. And yeah, that was it. But then you have, oh man, I went on that tangent again. But going back to Infinite, you know, they're doing a lot of really good things, and it really seems like they're this game is, again, a love letter to the fans. You know, they've done a lot of great work with the Master Chief collection over the years, and they've done so much to that game to, like, properly, you know, to properly, I can't think of the word, catalog. There we go. Properly catalog the Halo franchise, and did it in a way that they did it the right way, I think. You know, Halo is the reason Microsoft is where it's at today, honestly. I mean, of course you have Gears of War, but Gears of War, I think, was Fable, I think. You have a lot of really solid Microsoft IPs, but Halo is where is brought Xbox where it is today, in my opinion. And they did the right thing by putting all those resources towards the Master Chief collection to make that collection as good as it is today, because that game is going to be timeless now. I mean, regardless of, however many Xboxes there are, or if it's just going to go to an app, like a Steam type app, which I think is going to happen. But now you have this cataloged amazing experience that lets people go and experience what made Xbox it is, what it is. And you get these new generations that get to experience that and get to feel that same, that same adrenaline rush of driving through a destroyed ship and a warthog, and and playing the arbiter, and all this other, you get, all these people get all these experiences now for years down the line because of how well they did this. And Infinite is the aftermath of the Master Chief Collection. It's like they took everything they learned, they listened to their community, they took that data, realized what people wanted, and created Halo Infinite. Said, this is the data that we've taken from Master Chief Collection all these years, and this is a game that we made for you guys. And this game looks fantastic. It's got, it's also got that bot play, which I think will be a really good thing long term. You get people, just like they said, you get people that you can go in there, you can train against these bots, and that way the jump into multiplayer won't be as jarring. But yeah, I mean, the multiplayer looked great today. They did the first showcase, I think, of a full length 4v4 Slayer match, which looked really good. I could already tell they did some changes from the initial gameplay release. Like the shield break is not this obnoxious yellow explosion now, which I thought was a little overdone. But it's weird now though. It's red. It's like a red hue, and depending on where your shots land, it kind of makes that spot in the body more defined. So like if you're hitting headshots on someone, they're part of the shield it'll show you where you're hitting them. So I'm assuming so you can adjust your shots, which is a really cool aspect of it. And honestly, the shield didn't look overdone. Looked like they pulled back that animation a little bit. They changed the color of it, which I think was a nice change. I do kind of miss the shield break of the older games a little bit, but it's one of those things where I see where they're going with this gameplay change, and I'm okay with it. It looks good. The movement, this was another point of contention between me and Alex as well. We both agreed that this, Halo Infinite needs to feel like Halo. It needs to have, the movement needs to have weight. Master Chief and Spartans, they're big people. They are giant, heavy people designed to fight Covenant. Like that's what they're designed to do. So they should have some weight thrown around whenever they move, they jump, whatever they do, it should feel like there's weight to it. And I think just from watching that gameplay, Infinite does a really good job of that. And they also modernized that movement. They still kept the sprint, which the sprint didn't look like it was overdone. It didn't really seem like it gave you too much of a competitive advantage either, which I think was really nice. They had the mantling system is back, which I think is a smart move. It's one thing to evolve the movement. It's another thing entirely to take things out. And I think that was a smart move to keep it, because that movement, in my opinion, doesn't really affect much of the gameplay. It helps you. Every game has some sort of mantling mechanic to climb up things. It's like it's ingrained in your system now. So if you're playing a game that doesn't have it, it feels jarring that you can't hit that ledge, because 100 other games their movement is so smooth you can jump on that ledge. Battlefield has a fantastic movement system, and Halo needed an upgrade. It really did. Their movement isn't bad whatsoever, and I think the Master Chief Collection proves that. But in order to evolve the gameplay, I think the movement is a nice change and it doesn't seem overdone. They do have a slide mechanic though, which I could have done with or without the slide mechanic. It doesn't really bother me much. But just watching the gameplay a little bit, I was not crazy about the cooldown for the slide. The guy that we were watching play was like sprint slide, sprint slide, sprint slide around corners, and was like going from sprint to slide immediately. And I'm not crazy about that. And I'd be willing to bet that that will be one of the first things that is critiqued and adjusted, is adding some sort of delayed cooldown to the slide mechanic. At least I hope so. I genuinely think that that is something that will help, or that will be changed. Um, but yeah, the gameplay looked solid. The time to kill didn't look too bad. I got Halo 2 anniversary vibes from the gameplay, honestly. Just with, some evolved movement mechanics. It felt fast, but not too fast. I think it felt like just from watching it, it felt like a solid time to kill. Like it didn't seem overly fast. The equipment that they showcased, I thought looked pretty cool. It was looked like a cross between, or a mixture of Halo 3 equipment and Halo Reach equipment, because you can pick up the equipment and use the equipment, but you can also lose the equipment if you don't use it. So if you die, so if you pick up a cloak device and you don't use it, someone else can kill you and pick up that cloak device, which I think is, it's kind of risk versus reward. One of my favorite things that I saw was precision weapons were a a battlefield pickup, or an arena pickup, map pickup, whatever you call it, which I think is fantastic. I like that the default loadout is an assault rifle pistol, because one thing, I love Halo 3. Halo 3 is one of my favorite multiplayers, easily. Reach is up there too. I love all the Halo games. What am I saying? But one thing I hated was that the battle rifle was like was like a default loadout option, and I hated that, because the battle rifle is such a powerful weapon, and some people are so good with it that it really puts a lot of players at a disadvantage. And I like that they kept with that going into Infinite. I'm sure there's going to be, precision game types like there are Master Chief, and that's totally fine. But I think for generic default Slayer, precision weapons should be a battle pickup, which is nice. What was the other thing I saw? There was one other thing I can't remember. Oh, Assassinations. They said that Assassinations will not be in the game at release, which is totally fine. I really do like the Assassinations quite a bit. Halo 5 I will admit, had some pretty dope assassination types that you could pick. Building off that Halo Reach assassination. And they said that it's something that they're working on and planning on releasing after the release of the game, which I think is fair. And the way that they explained it, they wanted to add it in a way that was still beneficial to gameplay. And I really appreciate them saying that, because one of the big things about those assassinations, again, is very risk reward. Like, I mean, they're so cool to look at, but people can kill you in the middle of them, and it puts you in a very vulnerable spot. But yeah, it looks like it's really awesome. Like I said, I've was lucky enough to be part of the first flight test. I'm still waiting on the email to give me more information on downloading the test and playing it, because it goes from Thursday until Sunday, I believe. So we have a lot of time to play. So I'm super stoked about that. Man, we're at 40 minutes. I can't believe I did this by myself. I talked for 40 minutes by myself. If any of you are listening at this point, anyone, if you are listening at this point, I am so sorry for wasting your time. I am really sorry. My voice is going out. I've been trying to drink water. It's not working at all. Any final thoughts? It was really nice and therapeutic to do this. And, I haven't done this in a very long time. Clearly, because I keep hitting the mic with everything. I keep hitting the desk. But yeah, I haven't done this in a really long time. It feels so nice to get back into it. So hopefully, I can continue to be in this mindset to deliver this consistently and hopefully build up a big, a decently sized fan base that enjoys listening to this sort of thing. One of my goals that I've always thought with doing, the podcast and doing the YouTube channel, stuff like that, I've always thought it'd be really cool to build a following and then, do like streaming, stuff like that, where the money just goes to donations, like kind of like a games done quick thing, but it's just more frequent, because I feel like with my job, I feel pretty comfortable right now, so it's not like I'm in a hurry for money. So I figured, if I could ever get this hobby up and going, I'd love to get it to a point where I have a following that we can just, when we donate, we do stuff like that. We donate to good causes and I don't know, and then just have fun doing it. Just a super fun time, whatever. Okay. I don't have anything else. Thank you for listening. This was episode, I already forgot again. Episode 14, Pixel Beast. Hopefully this will be up sometime this week. Maybe I'll try to get it up tomorrow, and I'll try to get it uploaded tomorrow, and yeah, try to have these weekly, every other week. Next week will probably be a solo session again, till I can get I can talk with Alex and figure up a good schedule that would work for him too. But yeah, thanks for listening. This will be up on iTunes, and then it'll be up on YouTube soon after. But yeah, take it easy, guys. Peace.